there! My name is Brent, and today we are going mine exploring. But this isn't any old mine exploration. I will be exploring these mines on bike, meaning I'm taking a bike into the mines. I have explored a lot of mines in my day, but this is going to be a first. I am excited. These mines are about 40 miles apart, so it's going to be a long day. So let's get pedaling. Ah! And we are to our first mine. And this mine you see behind me has a lot of history to it. It is called the Estelle Tunnel that was originally set up by the Estelle Mining Corporation. And this was started around 1908 with the goal of intersecting the bottom levels of the Union Mine way up at Cerro Gordo, where this ride began, my home. And the idea was the main Union Mine was going down 900 feet. There was down to an 1200 level. And instead of having to take the ore all the way up and then halfway down the road, they could just intersect the bottom level, get the ore out from there, take it down halfway out the road, right out this tunnel behind me. So this was primarily made as a transportation tunnel, which hopefully means it is plenty wide to ride this bike back through. They mined this thing for almost 15, 20 years into 1923. Along the way, they intersected little pockets of ore. They went up, they went down. They went left, they went right, but as far as we know, they never intersected the Union Mine. And so while no Cerro Gordo ore was put through this tunnel, I guess today a Cerro Gordo resident is going to try to go through it. What would the miners thought 115 years ago when they would have thought somebody would be riding an e-bike, which they don't even know what it was, through this instead of transporting ore? But let's give it a shot. Let's start zooming around this mine. So we're about half a mile back now. I gotta say, exploring by bike, it's a lot quicker than exploring by foot. And I appreciate the effort these guys went to make such a big tunnel. Because you gotta think, every square inch bigger that they made the tunnel was a cost, right? Because there's more dynamite, there's more rock to move, there's more manpower. So sometimes when you get into real old, kind of like small tunnels, you see it just barely be the size of a person leaning over. Because the person's trying to conserve their money and their time. But here, because this was primarily driven to be a transportation tunnel, they spent a little bit more time making it larger, although I can notice as we're going back, it is getting smaller. And I think I see that in a lot of mines. Maybe there's grand plans, and at this point, they could be 5 years into their digging here. And again, they're not finding ore yet. They're not going left to right. So at this point, they're thinking this is just a transportation tunnel. And so if you're 5 years into not finding ore and just going into a mountain, maybe you start reassessing. And from my reading, eventually though, they did intersect a vein. And when they did that, they started going left, they started going right, and they started going up. Which I imagine was very exciting for the miners, because again, they had been back here just thinking they're making a transportation situation. And suddenly, they found some pay rock, the payload. I gotta say, there's some obstacles in the way that make this bike riding a little bit more difficult, but I, for one, am a big fan of mine exploring by bike. Let's see if we can get back to where they find some more. All right. So, we are just at almost a mile back. I started around 3.7 on this trip. We're at 4.6. And we're at an intersection where you can see, if this was a transportation tunnel, they wouldn't have been doing these little wonky side chutes unless they had found something good. So that way, straight back. And at this point, you can tell they started running into some difficult rock. And there's a lot of ways to tell that. One, you can see here that there's rock falling into the shaft where there wasn't in the bike ride so far. Two, you see this timbering. So this timbering, they can see that this rock, see it's pretty loose. It's falling in. They start timbering. This probably got them pretty nervous and pretty annoyed because this is more time, this is more money, this is more effort. And you can see that even with the timbering, they ran into some real issues where this wood is just splintering. It's splintering a 10 by 10. So some pretty bad stuff. Sometimes they call this country rock. And it seems that this area though, they started finding some stuff because there was some serious operation that way, some more carbide graffiti, and it opens up again. So it seems that little patch wasn't too long. You know, there's just one little area that I'm gonna have to get through with my bike. But then it opens back up again, and you don't see the timbering that you saw before. Some of the old carbide writing. And now it's clear again. So I'm gonna go back and get my bike. We're gonna get over this collapse. We're gonna keep going back, see how far this thing goes. See the capabilities of this bike over this collapse. Unfortunately, I think for our first mine here, we are at the end of the road when it comes to exploring the mine. But I'm getting a little bit more comfortable each turn on this bike back in these mines. And luckily, this isn't the last mine. The next mine is even grander. And at the next mine, I'm actually gonna do an exploration. There's multiple levels to go to. We're gonna be going up ladders, going down chutes, checking all sorts of things, but this was a good easing into the day to get myself comfortable on this bike, and it's definitely a lot easier than walking back here, but it's a little nerve-wracking to begin with. So we're gonna spin this around, get back out here, get on our way to the next mine, the big mine, the main mine, and that mine is just about 40 miles away. So we're really gonna put this bike to the test today, and myself, I guess. So let's spin it around, head back towards the entrance. Practice run done. That is what we're gonna call that. I gotta say, riding a bike in the mine shaft doesn't come 100% naturally, but I'm feeling a lot more comfortable, which is good because we have a long ride and a much bigger mine to get to explore, to ride this thing in just a little bit. And if you've seen some of my other videos, you might recognize this mine shaft behind me from another something, a famous movie, a movie with the king of cool himself, Steve McQueen. McQueen shot a movie called Nevada Smith that was shot a lot right here where I'm standing back in the day. And I have a whole video about all the famous movies that shot around Cerro Gordo. I would definitely check it out. It is a lot of fun. But as far as today's video, I have to give a huge shout out to electric bikes. They are the ones that kind of inspired this idea of riding the bike back in the mines when they sent me this a couple weeks ago. It's their X-Peak edition, and I've been riding it all around Cerro Gordo and just having a ball. I've taken it on the salt train road, I've taken it on hard roads, and I think with the fat tires that it has, it just eats them up. It has the assisted pedal, which I have been having a blast with. I mean, I've gone 28 miles an hour on this thing, which just flies. It comes pretty much ready to go. Out of the box, I think 5 minutes later I was riding it. There's even these studded tires that they have. They can take you through snow. It's got fenders on it, and it is just a lot of fun. So if you're out there and you've ever thought about, hey, should I get an e-bike? I'd say yes. I've had a blast on it. Similar fun, almost more fun than I've had with my dirt bikes ripping around these roads. And if you're out there and you want to give it a shot, these bikes have been so much fun, and they're giving away a free bike cover with any purchase. You just got to use the code that you see in this QR code or that you see down in the description. These bikes are awesome, and I think with that, it's time to put it even more to the test because I have 40 miles to go before the next mine. So let's get riding. All right, so the odometer's at 25 miles. You can see that, 25 miles. And we got a little terrain change. We're going to sand, heading towards Owens Lake. What you're seeing behind me is some of the little remaining water in Owens Lake. And back in the day, Owens Lake was a 75 square mile lake then. Points was 70 feet deep. All of the weather comes off the ocean, it hits the Sierra Nevada that you see there. You see how there's snow-capped mountains. The weather gets dumped, that snow melts, that snow goes into Owens River, which feeds into Owens Lake. And as Los Angeles was growing, just down there, they were running out of water. And the ever-present William Mulholland came out to this valley. He saw this giant lake and he said, hey, that is the answer to our problems. So starting around the early 1900s, Los Angeles started buying up all sorts of claims out here, you know, posing as ranchers, like, oh, I want to move from the big city and ranch out here. So they slowly compiled the water rights and the land rights to all of this land. And then William Mulholland figured, hey, I can redirect the Owens River, which is up there, and put it into an aqueduct and bring it all the way to Los Angeles. And that's what he did. In 1913, he started the Los Angeles Aqueduct. He redirected the water, and over the next 10 years or so, what you see here, Owens Lake, dried up. And it was left with just an alkaline heavy dust bowl. You can see the kind of salt looking stuff here, and because of that it became one of the largest polluters of the air in the United States. And in the 1990s there was lots of lawsuits. They deemed it, hey, this is not safe, so it was said that Los Angeles had to fix it. And so now when you come out here, you see lots of different experiments to try to control the dust. There's water in some parts of it, very shallow water. Other parts have hay bales to try to prevent the dust from whipping up. Otherwise, there's rows and moats, which are basically rows of dirt to try to stop the wind from really picking it all up. But that is the story of Owens Lake. And it's obviously a controversial story. A lot of the locals, they'll tell you, you either bring the water to the people or the people to the water, and they prefer it like this, meaning, you know, if this was still a 75 square mile beautiful lake with this on one side and this on the other, it would be the second home to everybody in Los Angeles, and it'd be much more populous and kind of like chaotic. And so a lot of people out here, myself included, enjoy the kind of slow pace of life that is out here, and so instead bring the water to the people. But what do you think? What do you think of what was left behind? You know, it was certainly a ambitious project by William Mulholland, and one that he pulled off. And now this is the remnants of it, and this is our road that we're going to take to the next mine. I'm across the lake now, and you can see I'm riding on a road that's parallel to this. And what this is the former line of the Carson, Colorado Railroad. And this section was referred to as the Slim Princess. And the Slim Princess was a narrow gauge railroad that went from Carson City all the way down to Keeler. And it was brought to Keeler because of the Cerro Gordo mines, which are just over that hill that you can see from here now. And they started this in the 1880s, and I believe they got down to Keeler by 1883, which was a little interesting because the big silver boom by that point was kind of bust. It was kind of done, but Keeler became the southernmost hub and stop for the Carson, Colorado, and it was used to ship some of the ore that was still coming out of Cerro Gordo, some of the neighboring mines, later stuff that came off the lake. And it's a great history to this train that chugged along here. And if you're ever in the area, I would highly recommend going up to Bishop, California, where there's what's known as the Laws Museum, which is a great museum about the railroad. Otherwise, in Independence, Dave Moll, Craig Leck, and some others have actually restored one of the engines from the Carson, Colorado, from the Slim Princess. And you can see it occasionally in action. They have a group, I'll actually throw it in the link below, and they're restoring this engine. They brought it back to life, which is really cool. But it's interesting to think that, you know, back in the day, a train would have been chugging along here in the Eastern Sierra, all because of Cerro Gordo, where we began our trek today. So I'm excited. We're going to continue on. We're about 10 miles away from the next mine now, so we're getting close. Hopefully it doesn't rain, but we're getting there. All right, we we are 25 miles into the ride. You can see because I started at 17 and I still have full battery left. You know, I've been going between 0 and 2 pedal assist, but 25 miles in, still have the whole battery. I'm hoping to keep it all because there's still about 10 miles to go up that way to get to the mine. And then obviously then I have to come home, which will be another, whatever, 40 miles. But doing my best. I'm pretty impressed how it's been doing so far. Now we are to the second mine we're in. You can maybe tell how my riding in this mine is a lot bigger. The chute is huge. You can drive trucks in here. They're driving trucks in here to get out the ore. And this mine was originally established around a similar time that Cerro Gordo was active. So the 1870s, they mined all sorts of things here from silver, gold, later other minerals. And so we're gonna go check it out. There's 8 or so levels to this mine. There's some amazing things in here, even some ore carts, other things. So we're gonna go give it a go, but how often can you say that you can drive a half mile back into a mine? I mean, not just with an e-bike, but with a giant truck if you had it. So this is a very cool mine. We're gonna check out more stuff. We're going up. We're on a big stope. You can see they're trying to keep it up, leaving some pillars. But if you look at the roof, that is the material that built Cerro Gordo. That's a galena. It seems to have a different crystal structure than the stuff at Cerro Gordo. It's more stringy than the cubes. But that's some really cool stuff. You can just see the shimmer there. And that is pretty good. Over here, way up here, you can see ore cart is actually still in here. Someone's snagged the wheels, but this is up here, and you get the track. You can tell kind of they're trying to use something that was a little bit less expensive and easier to maneuver, where they're just putting the thin line of metal on top of the wood. But that is sweet. The thing's still back in here. All right, so now we are up a couple hundred feet above where we came in, and we're getting some of the old workings of the mine. So a lot of this is collapsed. You know, it's barely passable these times, but I just love being back in an old mine. Think about all of the work that went into this place. Then imagine some guy coming along in an electronic bike. Must be mind-blowing. All right, back down on the surface, and it is time to go. It is very late. It is gonna be an after hours ride home on very little battery, but that was exploring mines on an e-bike. I love this idea of combining two different skills or interests or hobbies and seeing if you make something new out of it. And probably some of the best ideas came from like kite surfing. Where did that come from? But anyways, I had a blast. This was fun. Thank you guys so much for the support, for watching this video. Hope you guys get out there and combine your own skills in some unique way. And until next time, I'm signing out, but I hope you guys have a great week. Thank you so much for watching.